Hi friends, welcome to the NISHCHAY series of BFM. In fact, in NISHCHAY series we are covering all the subjects. I am covering ABM and BFM. So welcome to the series. Here we are covering MCQs and objective questions. In the ABM which I have covered the biggest case study of correlation and regression. So watch that also, just today only. Also, watch this BFM session completely. Share it with your friends. Like this video. Okay? In fact, share it with your friends. That's very important. Sharing. Okay? Sharing is caring, isn't it? So, share it with your friends. Let's start. Which of the following exports or shipments out of India is exempted from export declaration forms as per the foreign exchange. So which of the following export shipments out of India is exempted from export declaration forms as per the foreign management means FEMA, Foreign Management Export of Goods and Services Regulation, dated January 12, 2016. So exempted, kindly note, exempted from EDF, Export Declaration Form. So which of them are not required to submit the EDF form? Export of goods accompanied by declaration that the exporter that they are not more than 5 lakh rupees in value. Second, personal effects of travelers, whether accompanied or unaccompanied. Personal effects of travelers means whether if I am sending some goods while traveling also. So there this EDF is not required. Is it so? Export of software in non-physical form using Softex forms. Export of goods from SEZ. So which one does not require the EDF form, export declaration form? Kindly note, earlier there was something called a GR form. Now the GR form has been shifted to SDF form, self-declaration, statutory declaration. Now that SDF is again shifted to EDF now, export declaration. Now EDF is for all the goods and services except software. In software we have Softex forms. Remaining everywhere you have EDF forms now. Everywhere. Let it be through post. Earlier there were so many forms. Earlier there was PP form, post parcel form. If you are doing it through post, then post parcel form. If you are doing it through this physical, then it was EDF form. Okay, then Softex. Too many forms were there. Now all of them have been combined. EDF for anything which is hardware, means anything hard, tangible, and services. And software, Softex. Okay. EDF form is required for every export, except software. For purpose of valuation of securities, for provisioning purposes, the collateral securities are to be got valued at least dash by the valuer, appointed as per the board approved guidelines. So how many times this valuation needs to be done? Okay. Collateral securities valuation. How many times it is to be done? Think over it, everyone. How many times the valuation of collaterals has to be done? Once in a year, once in 2 years, once in 3 years, and once in 5 years. Collateral valuation. Let me see the comment section. Collateral valuation is to be done by the valuer every 3 years, once in 3 years. Every 3 years, the collateral valuation needs to be done. Okay? By the valuer, appointed by the board. Which of the following organizations is responsible for developing and administering benchmarks relating to money market, government securities, foreign exchange in India? It means that which is the body among the given which will deal with what? Benchmarks, administering benchmarks. Who will deal with benchmarks relating to money market, government securities and foreign exchange in India? Is it Fixed Income Money Market and Derivatives Association, FIMDA? Is it FEDI, Foreign Exchange Dealers Association of India? Is it IBA, Indian Banking Association, or is it FBIL? FBIL means what? Financial Benchmark India Private Limited. Actually, it should be FBIPL because it's private limited. But we say FBIL. Okay? So, this Financial Benchmark India Limited. Okay? So, which one? In fact, it is FBIL. L is also okay, not P. Because the number of shareholders might be heavy, isn't it? Number of shares. That's why. So, is it FIMDA? Is it FEDI? Is it IBA? Or is it FBIL? The answer is FBIL. Okay? FBIL gives you the benchmarks. See here, the repo which we follow, there are two benchmarks here, specifically for loans I'll talk. For loans, you are having two benchmarks. One is internal, second is external. Internal benchmark is known as MCLR. MCLR. You might be knowing this by now, isn't it? MCLR. And external benchmarks are two. One is repo, and second one is, which is the second one? Repo and FBIL. FBIL benchmark. Now, FBIL gives you various benchmarks, not only related to loans, it gives you related to your Forex also. Forex, see this, all these, foreign exchange, government securities, all the benchmarks are given by FBIL. Okay, it's a separate company. It's a combination. This company is a combination, means joint venture between these three, FIMDA, FEDI and IBA. What is the basic approach of capital adequacy framework for banks? Basic approach. Now this basic approach comes where? Basic approach. This basic approach comes in operations risk. Basic indicator approach we call it. See here, the approaches are like this. For credit risk, there are three approaches. Standardized, then this. What? Standardized, then FI and advanced. Okay? Means foundation, FIRB and AIRB for credit. For market, it is duration approach and history in back testing, historical. And for operations, it is three. Basic indicator, then standardized and AMA. So this basic indicator approach is for operations risk. So what is the basic approach for capital adequacy framework for the banks? A bank should have sufficient capital to provide a stable resource to absorb any losses arising from the risk in the business, means from any risk in the operations risk, ops risk. Bank should maximize its returns with the minimum capital. A bank should maintain a reasonable debt equity ratio to satisfy the lenders. Banks should maintain a low level of capital to reduce the cost of capital. So what is the basic logic of having any capital? The basic question over here is, why should we have capital? That is the basic question over here. Why should we have the capital? Sufficient capital. What is the reason? Provide a stable resource to absorb any losses. Maximize the returns. If I keep more capital, will it maximize my returns? No, not at all. If I am having higher capital, that capital is locked. So it's not giving me any returns. Bank should maintain reasonable debt equity ratio. Debt equity is not the answer, actually it is CRAR. Bank should maintain sufficient CRAR. Okay? Bank should maintain low level of capital to reduce the cost of capital. Low level. Should the bank maintain low level of capital? No, that is also not right. If you have lower capital, then what happens? You might not be able to absorb the losses in future, isn't it? So the correct answer is this: sufficient capital to provide a stable resource to absorb any losses arising from the risk in the business. What is the main challenge for implementing risk policies simultaneously? Means if I go on implementing the policies, all the policies at the same time, what is the main challenge? What is the main challenge? Taking a balanced view of risk and returns. Is this one of the important challenges? Balanced view of risk and returns. So that is true. It's very difficult. If I implement all the policies at the same time, it's very difficult to take the balanced view of all the risks. Setting risk limits based on the economic measures of the risk. Risk limits. Setting the limits. Again, if you have everything simultaneously, you'll always face a problem. Because you'll get so much burdened that you won't be able to pay attention to the specific nitty-gritties at each level. Facilitating the implementation of risk and business policies simultaneously in a consistent manner. Implementation of risk and business policies. Means what happens? What do you mean by this? Risk and business policies. Here, the problem is risk and business. They are actually in opposite direction. If I try to increase the business, the risk will increase. If I try to reduce the risk, business will reduce. And we always have at the opposite ends. These are always at the opposite end. We always try to, what we want is increase the business. We always want to increase the business and reduce the risk, which is not possible. The logic is high risk, high returns. So facilitating the implementation of risk and business policies simultaneously in a consistent. This is also true. So this is true, this is true, this is true. Ensuring the best risk adjustment return, keeping in view the capital that has been invested in the business. Ensuring the risk adjusted returns means ensuring that the risk adjusted risk capital which I am having is best invested. I get the better returns. See here, every business's main point is what? What is the main point of any business which you do? Main point is you must have the lowest risk and you must have the highest returns, which is actually not possible. You have to do somewhere compromise in both of them. In risk you can't compromise actually. In business you can to some extent. So this is again a difficult part. It's a limitation, challenge. You can't do everything over here. So that's why the answer is all of the above. E, all of the above. Okay? In case of substandard assets, the provisioning requirements is stated correctly in which of the following? So provisioning requirement is stated correctly. Substandard. For secured substandard asset, it is 15%. For unsecured substandard asset, it is 20%. For infrastructure unsecured substandard asset, it is 25%. And all of the above. This is a real trick. Let me see how many of you can answer this. Yes? Which is the right answer? See here. Let's get the clear this provisioning again. For substandard, it is always substandard. It is always 15-25. 15% for unsecured, for secured, 25% for unsecured. 15-25. Okay? For substandard, 15-25. For doubtful one, D1, it is 2500, 25% for secured, 100% for unsecured. Okay, D2, doubtful 2, it is 40, 100, 40 and 100. 40% for secured, 100% for unsecured. And loss asset, loss, it is all 100. Okay, both. So the correct one over here is secured is 15%. But what about this? For unsecured standard asset, it is 20%. For infra, it is 25%. It's actually reverse. This 25% is divided, separated over here. If it is other project, then it is 25%. But if it is infra project, then it is 20%. This unsecured part for infra, it is kept as 20%. It has some 5% leeway has been given, margin has been given. Okay. So, the correct answer is A, 15%. Got it everyone? Clear? Check this. This table is very important for you. Everyone should check this. Very important table. Based on this, you have this. Based on the provisioning, okay, you have the risk weights also. Based on the provisioning, you have weightage. What is it? Anyone knows? It's not a part of this question, but do you know? Yeah, it is. Lower the provisioning, higher would be the risk weight. Isn't it? So, it is what? 150%, 100% and 50%. If your provisioning is up to, say this provision is up to 20%, less than 20%, then it is 150%. Risk weight is 150%. If your provision is between 20 to 49.99 or 50, you can call it 250. But 50 is not included. 50 is included over here. Above 50, equal to or above 50, it is 50%. So 22 to 49.99, it is 100%. This is the risk weight. Okay, this is separate. This is not a part of this question, but this is a part of your studies. Provisioning and risk weight are opposite of each other. As provisioning goes on increasing, risk weight goes on decreasing. Okay, got it everyone? Move on. Next one. What is the primary objective of credit rating? Why do we have credit rating? Credit rating for whom? For companies. Companies. Why do we have the credit rating for companies? Even for individuals. Why do we have the credit rating? To determine the interest rate of the loan. To assess the credibility of the borrower. To evaluate the expected loan losses. To determine if the account would remain performing asset after a given period. Think over it. Everyone, think over it. Why do you require credit rating to determine the interest rate? Is this the primary goal? The primary goal of credit rating is always to credibility. Assess the credibility of the borrower. We need to check whether this borrower is eligible, and if eligible, at what rate is he or she eligible. All the remaining things are byproducts. Main product is this. To determine the interest rate. So, interest rate will be determined on the credibility of the borrower. See here, logic is simple. If the credibility of the borrower is high, credibility of the borrower is high, if it goes on increasing, means what do you mean by credibility? If some borrower is having regular repayment, good repayment history, so his CIBIL score will be more. Or if you are doing it for the companies, then his rating will be more, AAA. So once a borrower is having high credibility, the rate of interest will obviously be low for that customer, isn't it? So rate of interest is a byproduct of credibility. It's not the main product. Main is credibility. To evaluate expected loan losses. Means loan losses means when can the loan become NPA? If the credibility is high, loan losses will be less. To determine if the account would remain performing asset after a given period. That is out of question. Nobody can guarantee anything. Even if any customer is having high credibility, good business, civil report good, or CRISIL rating good, everything is good. But then also that customer or that company might become NPA. So you can't at all judge about would the company remain a performing asset after a given period. You can only keep judgment. Guesswork can be done to some extent. Okay. So the answer is to assess the credibility of the borrower. An FCNR deposit can be opened for a maximum period of, now this you should know, minimum and maximum, you give me both. Your minimum is not asked, but then also you give me both, minimum and maximum, both of them you give me. Yeah, minimum and maximum, I want both. Yes, maximum tenure of FCNR. Many of you have written 10 years, 10. Correct answer is 5 years. Maximum is 5 years, minimum is 1 year. Okay, this is for FCNR. Got it? Same FCNR, NRE both. FCNR also and NRE also. Both of them have the same tenure. Minimum 1 year, maximum 5 years. Got it? This is for FCNR and NRE. For NRO and local FDs, in the resident FDs, it is minimum 7 days and maximum is 10 years. 10 years maximum. 7 days and 10 years. It is for NRO and FDs, normal FDs, resident FDs we call it. Okay. So these are the simple but to be remembered questions. Because FCNR and NRE both here, not only FCNR, NRE is also the same answer. NRE also has here both of them are roughly same only, NRE and FCNR. In both of them, you have to fund that account from foreign funds. You can't fund the account from local funds over here. Only the difference is NRE is in rupees, FCNR is in other currencies. NRO can be funded using your local currency also. Okay. So that's why this tenor difference. Got it everyone? Move on. Next. Which of the following options gives the buyer the right but not the obligation to exercise the option at any time before the expiration of the maturity date? Oh, which option gives the right to the buyer, to exercise the right before maturity, any time before the maturity? European, American, Indian, or vanilla option? What is this vanilla option? There is nothing called as vanilla option. Okay, there is a vanilla. This vanilla futures forwards, but nothing vanilla option. Okay. Vanilla forwards are there. Vanilla futures are there. Vanilla ice cream is there, isn't it? Do you know the logic of vanilla ice cream and vanilla, this forwards, futures, contracts? See this, vanilla means plain simple. Vanilla ice cream is what? Plain simple. What is chocolate ice cream? It is a vanilla ice cream, 99%, 1% is a chocolate flavor. That's the only difference. Okay? Same thing over here. All the options are vanilla options, means all the contracts are vanilla contracts. Some flavors or additional conditions are added. So now the question is different, but not related to vanilla. Okay? So now, which of the following options gives the buyer the right but not the obligation to exercise the option at any time before? Any time before. So the option over here is actually American option. American option can be exercised at any time before the maturity date. In our country, Bharat, we follow European option. Bharat, we follow European option. European. Okay? We follow European option. European option means that cannot be exercised before the maturity date. It can be only exercised on the maturity date. Only on the maturity date. Yeah, it can be bought and sold in the secondary markets. Here, understand this difference. Okay, what happens is many of them get confused. See this. Exercising means what? Giving it to the issuer back. Giving it back to the issuer. Exercising. Okay, so that is not possible in the European option before the maturity date. But it can be sold in the secondary market from one buyer to another buyer. That can be sold. So that is known as European, and American can be exercised any time before the maturity date. Any time. Kindly note this. Okay? Got it, everyone? Now, before going, let me show you the batches. Here, the new batches have just now started. Join the new batches. Always I will suggest you to join through the app. In the app, you get 1% extra. Okay? Always join through the app. 1% extra you get. Okay? Go to JIB and CAIB. Click on this CAIB June 25. See this. Mahapacks Selection Pro batch. This is the latest batch we just started. Selection Pro. Join the Selection Pro batch. Ebooks, mock test, online live classes, best in class material, adaptability, everything is there. Mock test and ebooks are to the level of chapter wise. Okay? So join this ASAP. And what is the code? Use the code Y432. Y432. Okay? Enter. Look at this. The discount offer is 80% over here. 80. Plus 1% extra through the app. Always purchase it through the app. You will be getting 1% extra. Okay? So 81%. Plus, if you join the Mahapack, see, this is for the batch. If you join the Mahapack, in Mahapack you are getting multiple batches, 15 plus batches per subject. Okay? So CIB Mahapack 2.0. Here you are getting double validity as well. You buy for 6 months, you get it for 12 months. You buy for 12 months, you get it for 24 months. Plus 81% discount. That is obviously there. Ebooks, test series, marathons, electives, you get everything in Mahapack. So join this ASAP. Same code, Y432. Never forget the code. Okay? Bye from my